Hello, lovelies. How are you doing? Happy new Gregorian year. And we are going out of the centre now. So if you can see, we are in the central column and we're starting to at number 11. So that's 20 mind signs. So we've passed the epicenter, the very epicenter yesterday. And today is Sunday, January the 9th. So yesterday, Saturday, January the 8th, 2022, we reached the absolute epicenter, which is white cosmic dog. So I'm just going to bring the calendar down so I can show you. Okay, so here we go. Yesterday was the epicenter, white cosmic dog, the 10th my own sign, and the heart of the matter, in my opinion, which is about clearing ancestral patterning and coding, using your amygdala, your emotional triggers, your inner dog, our mammalian parts of the brain that's holding these ancestral fears and memories ready to teach us the next level of our human evolution, which is the emotional evolution. So I'll be coming back to this later on, but this is essential now for people to learn about how we work as a human being emotionally, the amygdala, emotional freedom technique. If you haven't tried it yet, check it out. Emofree.com is Gary Craig's website. It's the biggest favor that you'll ever do for yourself if you start doing tapping, because regardless of the astrology or the Mayan or anything else, clearing the amygdala is the key step to setting yourself free from the old story. And I believe it's what we're here to do at this time. 10th house, Capricorn. We're in the sun in Capricorn right now. So every time when this comes round, as in the sun in Capricorn, this is a time to get disciplined, know what your patterns are, because it's ruled by Saturn. So in this case, in the Mayan framework, that ties into Blue Knight and Yellow Warrior, and I'll come back to that more in a minute. So it's seeing how all these cycles fit in, all these patterns, and you can learn all of that, and you don't need to know all of that to start doing this process. You know what your stuff is because you get triggered, you get emotionally triggered. Whenever you get an emotional trigger, so you start to feel a fear response, fight, flight, or freeze, this is always, always, always highlighting you back to a previous event in this life and all your other lifetimes and all your ancestors' lifetimes for your evolution. So start seeing it as a positive by empowering yourself to work with the emotional trigger. Even if to begin with, it's just to feel it instead of trying to put it off, trying to avoid it, trying to distract yourself. All of this is the ADHD, attention disorder, that's going on the planet as a way of not feeling it. This is where we've got to go to clear it, to understand it, and to create something new. It's an essential step on your process of human evolution and your spiritual story. And that's what's really coming in this week. The astrology is massive. This year's massive. So get those tools together so that you're going to be able to, first of all, feel safe to feel, ground, stop doing any drama with anybody, and just work on yourself before you open your mouth or do anything with anybody else. Because if you don't, you're going to keep repeating the old story, because that is how it works. Been doing this for 14 years in terms of emotional freedom technique, and believe me, it works. And also, I've done it with other people as well, and that's how I work as an EFT coach, is helping people understand their patterns and releasing the emotion that's in there, that's stored, that's creating the holograph basically all the time. Is, you're there on Groundhog Day of here we are again. You know, it's coming up again. And of course, even when you've cleared it, it comes up again because you go to the next level. So this was yesterday. So notice what you experienced yesterday. And if you're getting fed up, if you are already doing the FT and you're getting fed up of revisiting the same old stuff, then tap on that, because this is how the journey works. We have to go over and over so we can keep going to the next level. So as it comes around again, you'll notice how you use a different way to approach interacting with other people. It usually is around other people. Of course, there's a lot of big emotional drama going on the planet right now, and who knows how it's going to play out and what's going to happen. So the key focus is on ourselves, knowing my patterns, knowing my codes, my triggers. I'm the only one that can change that. Yes, I can get help with other people, but I have to make the choice to be disciplined, and also to stop doing the toxicity, toxic relationship, narcissistic relationship, and putting stuff into myself that's going to be disempowering ultimately for me, because that is how that particular substance or food or treat works. Doesn't actually deal with the feeling, it just puts it off for a bit, just numbs it out. And sadly, again, having to watch people close to me over a long period of time leave the planet because they're not learning how to come into their center and emotionally cope. And they're using all sorts of different coping mechanisms to do that, which ultimately destroy their body. And generally, this is because they haven't been able to commit to their soul journey fully. They have stayed at that level. And again, it's all good on one level. You know, it's all good in terms of, you know, who knows? We can come up with all sorts of frameworks around that. That's what their soul chose to do in this lifetime. That's what they came to do, is teach other people, so we can see that what their choices were created this outcome for them and what that meant for everybody else. And the more that you get into understanding the patterns, your own family ancestral patterns and your own coding, you will see how you are the next level. And if you choose as a Skywalker being, you can really let go of carrying any abuse patterns on. One of the key things about the narcissistic pattern is self-harming as a way of not being able to deal with the narcissist. And again, we can see on the planet that there are some very narcissistic energies who are showing people that they get to choose how everyone lives, and they don't actually care about the consequences of that. This is the extreme pathology. Again, if you start to study psychology, it's essential for this trip on planet Earth right now. I'm doing a degree in forensic psychology, so I'm studying lots of experiments around human beings. If you haven't yet availed yourself of this information, it's something that is extremely useful, because often how we think people will behave, they don't actually do that, and we don't actually do that either, and it is quite shocking on some levels. So start Googling around experiments around obedience, for example. Milgram is a key one. Go and check that out and see what happens around people being obedient, and that will also give you an insight as to why everything is happening now. So this is another essential thing for you as a Quetzalcoatl. Apologies if my pronunciation is off. I don't know. It's not a familiar language to me, even though I've been working with this for 14 years. We are the Skywalkers. If you're watching this, if you're wanting to raise your conscious awareness, if you're wanting to go deeper into opening your heart and speaking from the heart and being authentic and getting off the grid of this device of the Gregorian calendar that is taking us over and over this old ground, staying on step 12 and not going into 13, which again is going back to this, you know, and getting clear of the old patterns, then it's essential that you do this work, because it isn't about up here, it's about here first. Feel it, heal it, change your mindset, change your holograph, change your life experience. You've got to be brave, you've got to have the courage to face your own demons and stop doing the things that stop you from feeling. Feeling's where it's at. Coming up to a full moon in Cancer during this process, and Venus has gone into being a morning star, so very different energy as of today. And I'll talk more about the astrology as we go through. So today we've got Moon in Aries, and I'll come back to that in a moment. So as I said, we're in just past the epicenter, and again, one thing that's come up for me this week is, so please get back to me if anybody is interested or knows how to do this, is making a 3D of this, and ideally making it in a spiral. Because if you think, we start off here, and we started this one on the 1st of September, so think back to what you were doing there. This determines this 260-day spiral, which again is a miniature version of the 26,000-year process that we're going through. It's 52 is a key, which again is a mini process of what began in 2012. We started a new cycle of 5,200 years with new code. And so we're doing the mindset, we're doing how we think, conditioned mindset, again, conditioning, how we've been programmed, brainwashed by our culture, by certain big corporate now, and how we get off that into the heart of the sacred feminine, which is what Virgo is about, really untouched by human mind, being able to channel as a Red Skywalker truth, because we're coming into truth, we're living truth, we are living the dream of the conscious dreamer who's becoming consciously aware, and becoming consciously aware of our own stuff first. That's the key, because we've been programmed to put everything and everyone else first, especially if we're women, as a way of dumbing us down and a way of disempowering us on some levels. So again, it's all good, even though it's not feeling good and it's not about right relationship. We are now going into the heart of the matter of understanding how that works and how to get out of doing that. So Blue Monkey, we're in the blue, and we're in the central column. Again, I'm in the process of putting some ebooks together about this. I spoke about it in my last video, and so it connects to the Mind Factor by Jose Arguelles, and it shows how this is further gridded down into key grids. So at the moment we're in 0, we're in the 7th column, which is like the spinal column. So if you were to pull this up, if you imagine this is like a pyramid, and we're right on the top there on one level. So we've made our way in, we've climbed up to the top, and then we're going to be going out based on what we've done here. Red, awakening; white, refining; blue, transforming. So then we're going to see the manifestation in yellow, and we're going to see where we are in alignment with heart and truth and the galactic sun. So again, if you imagine like the Terminator movie, for example, where he came in, he'd been programmed in a certain way. And then over the next movies, he got reprogrammed by different people. So if you imagine that we have an interface, so we've got a human being body, and we've got a soul on board who can guide us, and then there's an interface, there's a programming that goes with this DNA, that goes with this grail that we're in, which is yellow human. And so in order for us to reprogram the DNA in the body that goes with the hardware, if you like, so like the soul's like the software that comes in, but it can only plug in. So again, like the matrix that's out at the moment, it can only plug in fully when the human being allows it and starts to align with behaviors that match doing the soul journey, that match being a spiritual, evolved, grown-up human being. Whilst we're still doing any behaviors that are toxic to us, that are out of truth, that are part of the old program, then we cannot fully access consciousness and truth. And again, it's relaxing into that, because that's what we all do. We all go through a process of initiation of awakening in the red. So if you're a red, you know, your energy very much is about being an awakener, and white, then refining it, coming into truth. Blue, transformation, so doing the emotional evolution and getting clear, get your amygdala clear, let go of your triggers and understand all of that process. And yes, it is a lot. It's a PhD in how to do your soul journey and incorporate all of this stuff. Yellow, manifestation, release the star seed. So again, the more that we let go of our fear, and that's going to be big again this week, the more that we can come into getting our spirit on board and doing our soul journey. So the first part of the trip is about understanding this, not only understanding, you don't have time to just go into academia on this trip, okay? It's an experiential learning. You've got to learn it, do it, live it, and just get on with that process now. You haven't got time to retreat into your cave, not in this lifetime. This lifetime's full on, so that you can really bring the human being race up to the next level. Again, minority of people who are doing this. So learn how to tap, learn what your patterns are. This will accelerate your path exponentially. Can't tell you how much it'll change. And you've got an amazing tool, so you don't need to use anything else to help calm your frazzled mind. Yes, get out in nature. Yes, meditate. Yes, stop watching violent things, all of that. That does really, really help. But the focus is the amygdala, and coming into being in the center of the storm means becoming emotionally intelligent and learning how to be in your emotional center. The more you tap, the more you heal, the more you release these old stories, you won't get the triggers the same. You won't get the experiences the same, because you've got that done the t-shirt. So each time you go into that arena, you will have that grounded sense of empowerment. And remember, we're in a 13-year cycle of White Wizard, which is all about empowerment. And so, of course, our empowerment, disempowerment issues are going to come up. And at this time, with Capricorn, it is the patriarchal spiral that's right up at the top. That's why it's so intense. And that's going to be true of the astrology this week. Okay, so at the moment, we are at the 0 point. And so we're just seeing over this time period here, since the 1st of September, what's come up for you that reminds you of your childhood. Because remember, all the patterns are created in childhood. We come in with that DNA, that family DNA, and then we're in an environment, we're in a giant mystery school that we have chosen to come in and evolve. So again, if you keep having that focus all the time, remember that you chose to come here at this time in order to evolve yourself first, and then through that, the whole outer world will change, the holograph will change. And yes, it'll take however long it takes, and it may not be in our lifetime, but we've come here many other lifetimes, many other skills and experiences, so we can do this now, and we absolutely can do this. So believe in yourself. Okay, so child stuff. On one level, Hanuman as well. So in all the different religions, you will see this deity, Krishna as well. So that the child within us that is transparent, is connected to the galactic sun, is free of any conditioned trauma interface, and so can fully enjoy the adventure of life, go where they choose, because they've done the work on themselves and they are no longer living their ancestral story, in a nutshell. So easy to say, not easy to do, but it's what we're here to do as a Red Skywalker. So in the next 13 days, we're going to go down the column and we're going to come to the end of this 20-day cycle on day 10, which is Yellow Planetary Sun. So you'll see how much light you can hold at that point, because Yellow Sun is about healing the interface so you can connect to the galactic sun, which is truth, which is beaming out that code for us to follow. And then we go up to finish it off. We go into the 8th column of integration. And so again, integrating our survival stories, because this is what Red Dragon is about. It's aligning with our conscious mother, aligning with truth, Neptune, spiritual story, and letting go of all our delusions and illusions that are keeping us stuck. And, you know, in, again, trying to get out of our body and not be in our humanity because it's too painful often. But the more you heal, the more your experience changes, and the more that you will feel empowered to go into deep esoteric wisdom and learning with your online guide. So it's well worth doing it, because you just become more and more centered doing this process. So even if you're struggling to keep up with the Mayan or the astrology, or just have faith in yourself, you can do this. These are just tools. If you're not using EFT yet, that's a tool that is so powerful that will really help you come into your body and your center and your heart. And it's an essential step. So remember what we're working on. Keep your eye on the prize. In this 260-day process, we're becoming aware of our old mindsets. We're becoming aware of how we've been conditioned. We're becoming aware of Virgo people in our life, for example, where Virgo is in your chart. And for people of my generation, so I'm 56, you will have Uranus and Pluto in Virgo, and we're here to change the world by changing ourselves and our own mindsets and belief systems. So we're a very powerful generation for doing that in a grounded, practical way as well. So just to come back to this wave spell before I go into more of the astrology, is tomorrow is a very important day because we've got yellow lunar human. So human, as I say, this is us, the Holy Grail. This is the ship that we're sailing, the spaceship, the starship, the way that we can do this virtual reality trip for the spirit, if you like. You can look at it that way as well. Lots of different ways to see this. I will put a link onto my blog, flowwithjo.com, where I did an article on this. And so first of all, yellow human wave spell, so it always links back, is in the Red Skywalker 52-day process, which is the one that was before this. So Red Skywalker is in the White Castle, so it's about refining what happened in the Red Castle. So each 52-day process we go on, we're building. So when we began on the 1st of September, we were awakening for 52 days as to what the Great Mother was bringing us. So in that first 52 days, you've got all the info that you need of what you're going to be working with this whole 260 days, which of course is building on your whole lifetime as well. And if you're 52 plus, you've done your full lot of 4 times 13-year cycles, depending on what sign you are. And so you've already done everything that you need to do, and now you're going to the next level of transforming that so you can get off this old storyline and start creating something new. Remember, it's not an absolute. It's not a I'm here and then suddenly I'm there. It's a spiral. So every day when you start to work with this calendar, moving the blue tack, and if you want one, you want to download one, go on my website under resources. It's on there. You can print it off and you can start to tune in and get off the old matrix grid, start getting to natural time again. If you want to know more, just message me and I'll send you the details. I'll put a link under the video as well. So yellow human is the manifestation. So it's what was going on for us when we got to that point of where am I actually? And often the ego's a tricky little devil because it will have you believe that you're this, you're that, you're the other. This is the ego that is created in childhood. And again, you know, the more you know about psychology and belief systems around that, the more you'll find that helpful to understand. So we've created a persona based on how people interacted with us as a child, our environment as well, our DNA. So lots of things going on there. But we're not stuck with that. If we start to learn and do self-development, and most importantly, healing, then we can start to totally revise how that works and start to focus on what feels good. You know, this is what Red Sky Walker is all about. How do I create heaven on earth for me? And so by healing the hell experiences, know what doesn't feel good for you, what feels disempowering, narcissistic, having other people's views pushed onto you, that often are coming from fear. This is a big theme at the moment that we can see. And even though we've had this many, many times on the planet, and we've had legal platforms around the Nuremberg Code, for example, if you look at the history and you look how all this ties in, again, that was based on something that happened in the outer world that was a legal system. It wasn't based on people doing healing. Okay, so all these patterns are still going on because most people are still carrying grudges, they're still carrying fears. And you can see in each country, if you look at the history, so in the USA, for example, we've got a Pluto return coming up very soon. And this is a rerun of the Civil War. So although the laws may have changed, although people's intellectual understanding may have changed, and again, not a lot of people being educated about this history today or for the last couple of generations, people's inner DNA hasn't changed and they're still holding the same storyline. So until people start healing, that's not going to change. And I've been saying this for eons, you know, and but people still not understanding that yet. This is so key to understand this very important point. People don't heal. They don't change their belief systems because it's all tied in to this computer program that is the human being. Okay, so when we're in yellow human, it was the 1st to the 13th of December 2021. It was in the red overtone moon period. And again, we've got 13 moons that stay the same. So even though we've got the Wavespell is changing all the time because it runs and it's only 260 days, it's not 365. So the spiral will change and it will come in at different astrological times. The 13 moon calendar stays the same. And so does the Mayan New Year. So just to reiterate that, 26th of July every year, we have a new Mayan year and we have a new 13 moon cycle begins. And so by the time we get to the 13th of December, we're on overtone moon, which is moon number 5, which means what began on the 26th of July, we've gone through a process of lunar moon, which is largely Virgo energy. Magnetic moon is Leo. Then we go into Libra energy and Scorpio. And then by the time we get to overtone, we are in Sagittarius energy. And so this is our Akashic story. This is the DNA that we've come to change. And this is so big this week. Okay, so yellow lunar human is a clear sign. And that means it's on Pakal Votan's tomb in the Temple of Inscriptions. And again, I'll put a link on there for that. There are 13 signs on there. And if you are a yellow lunar human, for example, it's very key for you to understand your human being story and to clear off the trauma of it so that you can create heaven on earth for you. I'm a blue lunar hand. I'm also a clear sign, and that's on there. And my understanding is these 13 signs reveal a process. So this wave spell, we're in a big process for understanding the human being's emotional story, because that's how lunar comes in. Lunar is the moon. The moon is linked to our emotional story. It's linked as well very much to our mum. And again, a lot of this energy is about our mother, because the mothers give birth. So literally through each woman, you know, the next generation is birthed. And in the same way, we are birthing the new earth, because what's in us, in our heart, and everything that I've just talked about is this holograph projector that we're projecting out. Okay, so everything that's created on the earth is coming through us, everyone, not just women, but everyone. But women have, of course, a big connection to the moon because they have their cycles, they have their ability to birth, and their ability to tune in to the unconscious is very much tied in with the cycles. And also, once you stop doing your menstrual cycle, you go into a whole different space of being a wise person at that point, potentially. I'm not saying everybody is, but potentially as you become a crone, you have a whole different energy around that. You've been on the block, around the block a few times as well. So you can see experientially, rather than somebody just, you know, telling some story to somebody, a younger person who may just believe it intellectually because they don't have the experience, because they've not seen. They can be very naive around how, let's say, dark energy works, darker people. And this is the beauty of younger people as well. They can be very innocent and they can bring amazing energy in from spirit because of that. Again, just watched a film on that, Fatima. If you haven't watched that, that's an amazing story about young people and how they keep their faith in seeing the Divine Mother despite everybody else's shadow story that's being projected onto them, and how they try and get them to change their story based on their own fears and projections and their agenda as well. So, if you want to correlate it up, 1st of December to the 13th of December, think back to what was your new emotional learning back then during the overtone moon period, and the Sagittarius energy of the yellow human wave spell. And also there was a similar pattern to this going on in 2017. So slightly ahead of these dates, we were going through the same wave spell then. In the spring equinox then, we began a 13-year cycle of yellow warrior. So again, that ties into the Saturnian patterns, again, of Capricorn, and how we come into our heart path and we surrender to our spiritual story, which is very much about working with the ego so that you start to trust because you've healed. You go into a whole different space of relating to yourself and trusting the divine, and it's in a very embodied space as well. It's not dogma, It's not merely, you know, just giving lip service to these things. You come because you are healing and because you are trusting that there is a divine plan at work, and you're working on your fear, so you're letting it go. So yes, as a Skywalker, this was the key over the last 52-day period. And now, of course, we're really working with that energy with Red Serpent 52-day. And we're in the blue within the blue. So it's very potent and it's very powerful. So in terms of Aries moon today, so I'm just going to read you that. We're at Aries 19 and someone performing trephination. The head densely holds the patterns of the past as fixed roots. So again, this really ties into your amygdala. There are points along the journey where everything must be dropped and where all previous experience becomes no longer applicable. You are treated to a destiny surge of power which obliterates the traces of petty limitation and habitual tracks. A radical departure into the infinite unknown becomes the only way to go, as the ego mind no longer bears the authority to command and dictate and coerce. Vision is released, awareness becomes visceral, everything lights up directly. And as the old carcass is removed, the universal life force streams in, giving a much brighter angle and learning to move with. Identity smashed to make room for totality in a fresh and uninhibited expression and embodiment of its core. And in its need for those who can drop everything and tune right in to what wants to emerge here of itself. Wow. So that in itself, you know, just reading that, and I hadn't read it before, that's it. You know, once you start really getting into these patterns and working with them, you will see how it's so wow, how it's all there to be seen. Yesterday I drew some cards, sorry, not yesterday, on Red Moon Day. So we had the day before yesterday, we had Red Crystal Moon, which is the only crystal in the center as well. And so again, you can cross-reference time periods around that. And that was June when that happens, because of course we go into Cosmic Moon before we go into a new year every year on the 26th of July. So again, you can see how they all come together. And, you know, once I started working with this, I had no awareness of this before I moved to Glastonbury in 2011 and started doing these processes because intuitively the pull was so strong to do that. So as I've been learning this over and seeing these two frameworks, and they are incredibly complicated on one level, but they become simpler as you start to remember, because we've done this over many lifetimes. You have no doubt that there is a divine plan, that there isn't anything random going on. And I find the people that I work with using these frameworks, as they start to do this process as well, they really understand that, and they understand that we just have to go through this birthing process now, and how beautiful it is. So the more that you heal, the more you let go of your fear, and the more you start to understand all of these things. It's just amazing. So all of this clicks in together, and it's very important that doing the healing work, that's the key thing. So yes, on Red Moon Day, I got Red Moon as a main card, and I also got the Thoth card was the moon. So again, when you look at all these cards, you know, what's the chances of that happening? So today, the Mayan Oracle for Blue Monkey is the Universal Movement, which is number 13. So again, I look back at that as to yesterday. Yesterday, when you're in the center, when you're in the eye of the Zolkin, what happened for you? What was fantastic yesterday? What was really, really good? Because you want to be creating a lot more of that energy. What did you find you were passionate about, opened you up? So for me, I did lots of things yesterday. It was super physical as well. And but traveling out in the landscape, got some pallets for growing some vegetables, which I'm passionate about. Got some fun things, got some things for making homely, which, you know, I've got Taurus moon, and I feel that's really, really important. Everything is about the home on one level. Everything is about Cancer, the fourth house, and of course the moon that's coming up, the full moon. The more that we start to create situations where we're happy and healthy and we're supported as parents as well, where we're not struggling to survive, because actually there's no need for that to happen anymore with all the amazing things that we've got in the world and the technology and everything. It's only because people haven't healed these old patterns that there's still this power imbalance going on. And, you know, it's inevitable that that's going to change, but it's tough at the moment because we're in that birthing process. So at this time of year, every year, as the light starts returning, I start to look at what seeds I can plant, literally, what food I can grow, because I just love being out there creating amazing things for me to put in my body, and beauty, you know, beauty of the plants that you can grow and nature. And yeah, I just, I always feel really optimistic. And of course, we're going to go into Aquarius energy soon as well. So that's going to be really powerful. And that's my rising sign. So I love that time of year. So yes, everything to play for now as to getting those seeds coming together, creating vision boards, creating lists in whatever way you do that. I get stick-its and I put them all over the fridge. And yeah, just as I get some sort of creative energy coming up, an idea, I write it down and start to make things happen. So of course, as the moon is waxing as well, it's very beautiful, powerful energy. And if you set a plan, an intention at the new moon time, then we can see some smaller things happening really, really quick. Especially if you're an air sign or a fire sign, that does tend to happen. So I picked out some other cards as well. So again, what I tend to do when I ask for cards now is I'll go through 3 cards. If I don't get a major arcana in that time, I'll ask for one. But actually in this, I didn't get one. So I just stopped at 5 cards. And so I'm just going to go through with the cups. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail with these at the moment, but wedding, celebration, abundance of emotion. And the more that we clear and heal, the more that we can really feel this energy coming into fruition. Then on the flip side of that, so the shadow sides we worked on, we've got disappointment. So again, you can look at what creates a feeling of abundance for you for the other one, what creates disappointment when that doesn't happen. And be very specific in to reverse engineer. So go back to that time when you had an experience of disappointment, for example. What beliefs did that create for you? Also with the abundance, what have you done as a discipline that's created abundance for you? What are you really good at? What are your strengths on that? Where are you being disciplined? What do you do when you feel disappointed? That's another interesting question. So then we've got discs. Worry. What creates worry for you? What do you do when you're worried? What can you master? So again, these 2 are 5s. So they go into the overtone moon. Of course, we're going into resonant moon now. So we're seeing what's resonating with the old emotional story. And we're at the top of the pyramid with number 7. And if you tie that into the mind sign, which is blue hand, how are you shaping your destiny? with what's resonating with truth, what's resonating with authenticity, what's stopping me from being authentic. Why can't I speak my truth on this? And how am I people pleasing? How am I afraid to be the amazing shiny starseed that I am? And it's always back to childhood experiences and ancestral patterns, you know, where that's first, oh, you know, I can't be my magnificent self because they won't like it, they won't like me, and they'll bully me. Or so again, as I'm speaking, you know, my internal world is coming out, my internal story, as everybody's does for each individual person. So we've got swords, Knight of Swords. So again, love the image on that card. So again, coming into your adolescent self, you could say, or your adept self. So let's say we start off as an initiate, and we might have certain beliefs about the world. You know, as we're younger, we might be innocent, we might be naive. We also might be really brave and courageous because we don't have a lot of amygdala blockages back then. Maybe, you know, this varies from person to person. So we might go out on our hero and heroine's journey and be brave, but we also might encounter as the fool, for example, lots of learning along the way around that, in our innocence and naivety, and then have to do a redress on that. So hang on a minute, was a bit too off with the fairies, for example. So having lived in Glastonbury since 2011, you know, I've learned a lot about the spiritual groups of people that often they haven't healed, and they've just changed their t-shirt. You know, they've left the corporate world and they've become some sort of spiritual counselor, but they haven't actually done any inner healing themselves. So it's not coming from that clear space. It's coming from a business plan, or, you know, a very unhealed place, let's put it that way. That has often been my experience in spiritual circles, where people are just quoting dogma. It doesn't come from a true place of source. So finally, we have got Strength with Wands. So again, being number 9, coming into that strength space, having that energy where, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm getting more and more confident about who I am because I've released all those events where people questioned me narcissistically, gaslighted me, for example, and made me doubt myself. Through that experience, I'm not using that as a blame thing. It was just like, oh, you know, I'm being told that I'm this by all these different people. Is that true? Or is that a projection? So this is a real, you know, mastery step. It's tricky to know, isn't it? Okay, so this week we are in the high degrees of Capricorn now. So like I say, we're building up now to coming into the latter end of Capricorn and then going into Aquarius energy. And although we still got ways to go, it just seems to be going so fast. I can't get my head around it a lot of the time, with things happening very, very quickly now. And so, of course, we're building up to the full moon as well. So bear with me because I'm going to have to refer to notes here because I've written that many things down. Okay, so we've got the full moon coming up London time, January the 17th at 11:48 p.m. And in California, that'll be 3:48 p.m., 8 hours behind. And that again, we've got another full moon at 27 degrees, which when you add those together is a number 9. So it's a gateway. So I'm just going to read you that. Okay, so Cancer 27 degrees, a woman giving birth to twins, as always. This is from aquaorfire.net, which is a website that shows inside degrees, which is a channeled work. And I just love these sigil stories. A woman giving birth to twins, moving one way and moving another way at the same time, in the same breath, day in and day out, inwardly compelled to take hold of given pairs of opposites and to work them by going into both and finding out how and where and why both cannot be refused, insist on being met. Captivated by your life predicament, always seeing contradictory sides that in some ways cancel each other out, but also unfolding in multiple directions and truly born with a split karma. You have little choice but to cover all the bases, check everything out, and play through each and every side of the situation, consciously identifying with one thing at a time, but subconsciously absorbed in the other thing consistently, prone to self-sabotage and searching for a lost path through which you can bring the polarities together, serve the whole, and yet be free within the serving and be unattached, just there to let it all come through without making anything a burden or a self-blaming focus. The charge is removed when the opposites find each other again and fanaticisms give way to the universal good met integrally. Again, just totally blows me away, just totally fits in, doesn't it, to everything that's going on. Okay, so the full moon then is going to be on Monday, isn't it, the 17th? Let me just check that. Trying to fit all these different parameters in. Yes, so we've got Friday is January the 14th, that's Yellow Rhythmic Warrior. So Saturday, Red Resonant Earth is the 15th. Sunday, White Galactic Mirror. So that's just going to be just before the full moon. So that's going to be a big day because we're going to be integrating the previous 13-day process. So Monday the 17th is going to be Blue Solar Storm. So going through the gateway again of, can I be in my center? Remember, Blue Storm was also in the white, Red Skywalker, and just before Yellow Human. And so I haven't written the dates down for that, but let's just work that out. So we said December, didn't we? Beginning of December. The 13 days, right, okay, so Yellow Human was the 1st to the 13th of December. And so Blue Storm, I've actually got it here, 18th of November to the 30th of November. What were you doing back then? Where were you then? This is really important to be able to cross-reference these things. What's been coming up for you that takes you out of your center, basically, all the time? And always, 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 it will go back to when you were a child. It will go back to how you related with other people. Now, there'll be people in your world today who may be the same people. So you may still be doing problems in relationship with your mum and dad because, you know, you've got different generational stuff going on, different belief systems. Lots of people going back to the war years, etc., will have trauma, will have challenges around home life and how they then adapted to that and how they evolved when they became parents or not, and all different things on the scale. So, so you may still have those people in your life and you may still be playing out that dance with them, and you may have people, you may have your partner, your husband, your wife, or your partner who is a replicant of that energy so that you can now go to the next stage and work through it. And I always find that with people who go, especially if you go into a relationship unconsciously, you're always going to be working through those ancestral patterns unconsciously, which is why if you are a conscious person working through your stuff and healing, you need to be in a relationship with as many people as possible who are also doing that trip, because otherwise you're going to work on drama level a lot of the time, generally speaking. Okay, so if you get to a point where you're now consciously aware of these patterns and you're choosing a partner from that space, you know, you've got to choose a partner who's healing. You've got to, you know, otherwise you're going to go down a whole space, a rabbit hole of that, of revisiting. Your choice entirely. If you're a woman and you're around 52 plus and you're interested in knowing about how to consciously choose relationships, please do get in touch with me. I am putting a program together for the next 52-day process. And so Red Earth that will be, and how we're birthing the new Earth and how we're working with like-minded souls who are doing this evolution. That's really, really important. Okay, so we've got big stuff coming up on the 18th. So that's Tuesday. So that's going to be Yellow Planetary Sun. So again, this is going to be huge because we have got so many things happening then. But the key thing is that South Node goes into Scorpio at that point. North Node goes into Taurus. And we've also got something else happening on that day. What is it? Come back to that in a minute. But that in itself is huge. Okay, so the next 260-day cycle is going to be in Taurus, and Taurus and Scorpio is an interesting dynamic. So again, these work in approximately 8.5-year cycles. In terms of mythology, and because I've done this for many years working with women, I call it the Persephone Path. It's a North Node cycle. So where your North Node is, and knowing about that is, again, very key for women who are wanting to understand their Persephone path. The whole myth, check it out, just put Persephone in there. Again, it's in different cultures, in different names, but it's about losing our innocence. It's about having a Hades story, also known as Pluto. It's about the narcissist. It's about being abducted, fear, very instrumental in the sacred feminine and repression of that. And so once you start to recognize these cycles, or when they're going to come up, so if you've got North Node in Scorpio, which there are key people in my life that have that, then you're at a 9-year break point on this. Because in another 9 years, that means the North Node is going to go into Scorpio. Okay, so whenever you're in your South Node, which it will be, starting on January the 18th, you will experience past life issues coming up. So depending where that is in your chart, you can go in depth with this and you can see what your past life karma was, how you've incarnated this time around in order to work through that. So wherever we've got the South Node, so at the moment, I'm in my North Node in Gemini cycle, and I can map that back and I can see Sagittarius energy. So the father of my children, who it was his mind sign yesterday, and how all of that factors in my journey and my process. And that in itself as well can be very healing when you start to see these bigger patterns. So you think back to what was happening 18 years ago, and just as we're finishing off this tail end, which was around 2001 was massive, and 2002 and 2003, and then what you did next. 2001, big events on the planet that changed how people travel because of certain things that happened in New York. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about on that level. what happened to you on a personal level? How did that affect you? And then what did you do next? What was manifest as a result of that? How did you change your mindset? Taurus Scorpio energy on one level is very much about power. It's about money. It's about survival. Scorpio, it's about setting good boundaries. It's about, when you work with a Scorpio, past life, emotion, total emotion, Scorpio, very powerful. And then what does that manifest? Taurus. Again, going back to Saturnian patterns, stagnation, calcification, getting clogged up, getting stuck, petrified. How do we break that off? So that we get clear. It's like using a cleaning product that you spray it on and it clears off the calcification if you've got a lot of lime in your water, for example. So all those metaphors, how do I clear my energy? How do I clear this stagnancy in my emotion? How is it hardening my arteries, for example? That's happening for a lot of people because they don't feel they can feel because they're very emotional. So we're going to be going through all those sorts of things around, again, Scorpio energy, defining great boundaries and death and rebirth. What needs to die so that I can live? I need to stop doing in order that I can be reborn. Okay, so we've got that energy going on. We've got Mercury going retrograde, of course, in Capricorn, and that's happening on the 14th. And so, again, this is so significant and ties in with the bigger picture. So we're going to go over old mindsets. We are going through Venus right now, retrograde as well in Capricorn. And Mercury going retrograde in Aquarius, isn't it? I'm trying to read too many things at once. Okay, so at the end of the week, then, we're going to be going back over old ground around this. And if you are born with Mercury retrograde, which I am, this is a comfortable position for you. Because it is about going back over old ground. Often, if you're a therapist, if you're an empath, often you will have these placements as well. But it's good to know. So on Monday, on this yellow lunar human clear sign day, which is always the new learning, the moon rules the day because it's 20 degrees Capricorn, sun energy. So again, shining that light on our discipline. It's Taurus moon. We've got sun. The sun is sextiling Neptune on that day. So it's a huge portal on Monday. It's a big hand of fate day. And so changes to the future, changes to the storyline. This is what's coming in this week. Letting go of these past Akashic record stories and earthly plans. Mars is at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. We've got all these 20s going on. So again, this is new learning, lunar, emotional story. How do I manifest something different? So with this Venus retrograde, this energy all the time, it's been surprising. You might be coming into a new, different space now thinking, actually, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to do something else. I thought I was going to do that. But now that I've seen what that is or how that feels, or maybe there's been a bolt from the blue, which is like something showing up, someone, or it's a revelation, an epiphany, because of course we had the epiphany on January the 6th, I think it was, 12th night at Christmas, the three kings, the magi coming in. So maybe you've had, some epiphany come to you that's like, no, actually, I'm going to do this. So on Monday, tune into that. And then on Tuesday, we've got Red Electric Skywalker and Mars squaring Neptune. again, both at 20 degrees at that point. So it's our ego connecting to our higher self, potentiality. And we've got Saturn is at 13 degrees Aquarius on that day. So again, this is an amazing day for aligning with our spiritual story as a red Skywalker, because it's the day of alchemy. And on Wednesday, again, we've got Taurus moon still, and we've got white self-existing wizard on that day. So the story is launching then. So if you think again back to the 13-year cycle that we're in, which is white wizard, empowerment, the moon goddess, the asteroid energy, new consciousness, new awareness. How do I become self-existing? How do I become free of this codependency? Again, that's one of the key focus points for each individual, getting clear of codependency and any need for something. I need, that's unhealthy. Oh, I need to have this relationship because I don't know who I am without it. I need to have 10 bottles of wine over the weekend because that's fun, and then I'm recovering from it the rest of the time. How can that match up with being in a healing framework, for example? It can't. It doesn't align with that at all. Anything that makes you feel unwell has to go, so you can really be that shiny, sparkly star that's free of toxins, looking at the bigger picture of where we want to live, where we want to create, being really, really healthy human beings. It's really important, especially with the health service in its current operating system or lack of operating system in the UK, for sure. Okay, so then we have got Thursday, blue overtone eagle, January the 13th, and we go to Gemini moon, and by that point, Jupiter is at 3 degrees of Pisces. So we're seeing a bigger picture of who we are as a planetary server. We're seeing our life journey, our spiritual journey unfolding. And we've got Mars at 22 degrees of Sagittarius at that point. So it's a real quantum leap point where we can use that warrior energy to really move forward on our spiritual path. If we've got the courage and the energy to do it, that's the key, isn't it? So on Friday, we've got yellow rhythmic warrior, and we have Mercury going retrograde at 10 degrees Aquarius. So again, number 10, manifestation, and I'm just going to read that for you. So this is going to be a long video. Okay. A black raven with a bright red head, a watcher poised, observant, keen, seeing into souls, negatively disposed, absolutely alert to what is wrong, to what is missing, to what should be changed, fabulously mental with a gargantuan appetite for trouble, for difficulties, for crises, scavenger, bird of prey, karmic endowments of a strange kind, susceptible to the dark, wandering in a maze, knowing just where you are, but not who you are. Identity is eclipsed by the necessity to be effective in action. You're compelled from within to make yourself useful, to do the dirty work, to get down under, gravitating towards the impossible and somewhat blind to the pitfalls of such a way of operating. You ferret out the facts. You serve a poser behind the scenes and are obedient to a fault. So where that is in your chart is also a huge point of illumination for you. And that's a manifestation of the yellow rhythmic warrior and where you are on your path. So Saturday, we've got red resonant earth. Mars crosses the galactic center at 26 degrees. And so again, reformatting the star energy. This is where stars are made, in the galactic center. And Sunday, as I said, white galactic mirror, So we're going to be revisiting the previous 13-day process of White Mirror, what your holograph was, what was great, what wasn't great. What wasn't great is the focus for the healing, because that's the old storyline. And by the time we go into the full moon the day after, at 27 degrees Cancer, which I've already mentioned, Neptune goes to 21 degrees at that point. So all the twos around your chart, all the 20s, when we get into working on a daily astrological basis, these are the ones where the story is at its highest level, where we can change. And it's the emotional story. That's got to be where the focus is. This is the key point of it all that I've always harp on about, but this is the most important thing. If you focus on healing and changing your emotional story, everything else will change. If you're fed up of doing Groundhog Day, you're fed up of being stressed, triggered, you don't know what the answer is, then this is your turning point. If you want to know more, if you want to know how to work with this energy and stop doing that, then please get in touch with me and I can have a chat with you about what's going on in your chart. Is there anything else that I need to mention at this point? So I think basically, you know, there is lots of other astrology going on there as well. But the key thing is, this week, the North and South Node is at 0 degrees of Gemini and Sagittarius. Now is the time for you to really tune in and feel your feelings. We can get a huge data shift this week, coding shift on what's coming down, because we're at ground zero and we're about to go into 29 degrees of Taurus on the 18th, which is number 11. And in my last video, I talked about number 11. This is letting go, which of course is Blue Monkey, is the 11th sign. What do we need to let go of in our childhood so we can become transparent, so we can become clear and free? And so this week, it is all about trusting your feelings. Feel your fears. Get in touch with your fears. Don't avoid them. Don't try and numb them down. Start writing them out and feeling them, and learning about how they are, where your power is, they're where your soul is, they're where your starlight is. Think of the problem as the solution. Okay, so everything that's showing us where we don't want to go, how that feels uncomfortable, that's where the alchemy is. That's where the Skywalker is ready to work on an amazing level of transformation now. We've got all the tools, we've got all the ways to do this. You know what your answers are. Your emotional body is showing you that. We're in the blue, within the blue. It's a perfect time to start healing and start to access your inner child, to go deeper into the divine child. So I wish you an amazing 13-day process. Please do get in touch if you want to know more info at this amazing transformative time, and have an amazing journey as we go out now and start to see how the rest of this year is going to unfold. Yes, it is going to be really intense. So if you haven't started tapping yet, then I really recommend that you learn how to do that. It's easy. You don't have to know how it works. And as a planetary server, as you change, the world will change because of you. Lots of love.